UFC 310 just wrapped, and what an amazing card was. Absolutely entertainment. Not just the main card, but even the prelims were power packed. And especially there was one fight in the prelims which absolutely was amazing. That was Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Dominic Reyes got back to his dominating power and absolutely put on a clinic on Anthony Smith, probably landing the highest number of 12 to 6 elbows. Yes, 12 to 6 elbows, which are now legal in the UFC on Anthony Smith. He literally clobbered him with 12 to 6 elbows throughout the round. Anthony Smith seemed very devastated due to personal, emotional experiences and what has happened in his life lately. But then it was an absolutely devastating domination put on by Dominic Reyes, due to which he won the fight via TKO. The referee had to intervene and just stop Anthony Smith from taking any more punishment. So 12 to 6 elbows, yep, they are here in the UFC and they're here to stay. Then in the main card, you had Bryce Mitchell go up against Kron Gracie. Now, Kron Gracie, as usual, legendary jiu-jitsu, comes from a pure jiu-jitsu background only. He holds the flag of the Gracie family now, but his performances continue to be dismal. He kept pulling guard, he kept jumping guard. And finally, in the third round, when he jumped guard as predicted on Bryce Mitchell again, Bryce Mitchell just timed it, slammed him down, and then continued with two hard elbows that knocked him out. It was one of the most booed fights of the entire card today. And this was a grappler versus a grappler, but it again goes to show that if you are only depending on classical jiu-jitsu based grappling and have no striking and no awareness about strikes, you're not going to perform well in the UFC, in the field of mixed martial arts. All right. So even though Bryce Mitchell is not phenomenally ahead of Kron Gracie in striking, he still took advantage of it and destroyed Kron Gracie. Right. Another fight in this, which was quite unexpected, was Nate Landwehr versus Do Ho Choi. Do Ho Choi showed such phenomenal evolution in his game. Now, Do Ho Choi was known to be purely a striker, but the way he has evolved his game, nobody saw this coming. He has evolved his ground game to another level. The way he transitioned, the way he moved, the way he put a clinic on Nate was absolutely unexpected. Nate, for some reason, seemed gassed out from round one itself. It looked like in round one, he looked like he's already in round three. His movement was slow. He seemed gassed out. He seemed out of the game early on itself. And Do Ho Choi absolutely capitalized on it. The way he moved, the way he struck him, the way he absolutely dominated him, even in the stand-up and on the ground, totally was a one-sided performance by Do Ho Choi that came to a TKO finally in round three. Then there was Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Now this probably was the most booed decision of the day. All right. So even though Cyril Gane won the fight via a split decision, it's being considered a controversial decision because a lot of people, me included honestly, saw it as a win for Volkov. So it's very tough to see why Cyril Gane was given the decision. Volkov stormed off after the decision was called out. Even Cyril Gane walked out after the decision was called out. Cyril Gane apparently broke his toe in the first round, and so he was very disappointed with his own performance. But whatever said and done, it pretty much looked like Volkov had won the fight in terms of the first round via ground control, clinch control. The second round went to Gane, but the third round, in my opinion, and opinion of many of the other people who watched the fight with me, went to Volkov, but the decision was split and given to Gane. Even Dana White apparently was not happy with the decision, but that's how it went and that's how it's gone on the records. And it got extremely bad reactions from the audiences and MMA sport fans. So this was pretty tricky. I will watch the fight again to be fair, so that I can know, in case the judges scored it correctly, what was the reason they scored it the way they did. Right? Then came the two most phenomenal fights of the day, the co-main and the main event, which delivered as advertised. You had Shavkat Rakhmonov, who was undefeated, and then you had Ian Garry, who was also undefeated. And now both these fighters, all right, nobody in the UFC wanted to fight Shavkat, all right, but Ian Garry stepped up to the challenge. Now there's a difference between being delusional and being boisterous and boastful, and actually stepping up to the things you talk about yourself, which is why even though Ian Garry lost the decision today, he had already won a lot of respect for having the kind of balls he has and for stepping up to the things he has claimed about himself. And even though he lost the decision, this is the first time Shavkat Rakhmonov has not been able to finish a fight, right? Finish his opponent. And Ian Garry showed phenomenal takedown defense, phenomenal improvement in his ground game, and he has evolved in a way that people had absolutely not expected. Like what Shavkat brought to the game, everybody knew this is what Shavkat brings to the game. But what Garry displayed was something totally out of the box. Everybody was like, what the hell? This was literally Ian Garry 2.0. And if this is the way this guy can improve, I am pretty sure he's taking the belt soon. Right? That was a phenomenal performance. He won hearts for once. He won fans, and he's made a hell lot of new fans in the UFC, in the field of MMA, despite losing this fight. Great win by Shavkat, but phenomenal performance by Ian Garry. And then came the fight of my favorite. Yeah, Alejandro Pantoja versus the legendary double champ from Ryzen, Kai Asakura. Now, Pantoja has dominated this division for a while now. He's fought everybody in that division. Like, I think Kai Kara France is the only guy in the top 10 that he hasn't fought yet. But then again, Kai Kara France has to defeat somebody of higher value before he challenges Pantoja. So they bought somebody from Japan, a guy who's undefeated, who has highlight reels of his knockouts on YouTube, who is like a superstar of the fight game in Japan. And that's Kai Asakura. And this hype is real. Kai Asakura is so fast, so technical, so precise and powerful in strikes. It's like watching lightning work. But Pantoja bought his A game today. And the A game was right from the face-offs to the time they stepped into the cage, and with zero disrespect. He always touched gloves, but his eyes were focused. His body language was phenomenal. It was like an animal, and his body conditioning looked better than it has ever been. He looked like he's packed a lot of muscle and strength. He looked comfortable, he looked strong, and he delivered. In the first round, he outstruck the striker. Like Kai Asakura is known for being one of the most technically brilliant strikers in MMA, right? And everybody expected him to dominate Pantoja on striking. But Pantoja outstruck the striker and dominated round one. And the second round, Pantoja was so comfortable. The minute he took his Kai Asakura's back halfway, Pantoja was just chilling, waiting for Kai Asakura to make that one mistake of moving away from the cage so that he can get his hooks in. And as soon as he had his hooks in, the way he baited Asakura was phenomenal. He faked one choke, left it, let the other hand go as soon as Kai defended, and locked up a gable grip, not a typical RNC grip, and finished the choke. And the choke was so tight that Kai Asakura went out in seconds. Respect to Kai Asakura for not tapping and having the balls to keep fighting till the very end, but Pantoja's dominant finish definitely shows that Pantoja is tough for legend and truly deserving of the fandom that he has, and obviously still being my favorite. So if you have missed the fights on Sony Sports Network, make sure you catch it on Sony Live. The recorded versions are there. You get the English commentary, you get it in regional languages. You will hear me commentating in Hindi, and you will get the pre and post fight breakdowns as well. All right. I hope you had a great time. I hope you enjoy the fight game. What do you think about today's fight card? Do write to me in the comments, and I would love to start a real discussion with real fans who really love the game and are involved in it right here on Project Battlefit. This is Pushkaraj for Project Battlefit. Cheers.